Today's stories are taken from r/ghost stories. The ghost tried to hide when it saw me. Posted by u/am even living anymore. This happened around a year ago. Mind you, I wasn't home alone or it wasn't late. I was eating in my room while my mother was watching TV in the living room. When I finished what was in my plate, I got up to put the plate in the dishwasher. When I reached my door, I felt this eerie and creeping feeling in my gut. It made me stop for a second, but I just brushed it off as my anxiety being weird. When you open my bedroom's door, there is a hallway, and right across from my room is my parents' room. So I stepped in the hallway and I stopped dead in my tracks because there was something in my parents' room. It was a black figure. Tall and thin. It looked like a human. The incident was scary because when I looked at this supernatural being, it ducked. It tried to hide from me. I was confused and terrified at the same time. I am a big horror movie fan, so I knew investigating is never a good choice. So after standing there frozen for a minute, I could still see the figure on the ground at this point. I went to the kitchen. As I cleaned the things in my hand, my mind was making all kinds of scenarios. We moved to this house 5 years ago and I never liked this place, especially my parents' room. It has a closet room which we use for extra space for unused items and furniture, and there is a big mirror in the room. My parents have a closet in the room and all the doors of the closet are basically mirrors, and still to this day I feel uncomfortable when I stay in that room for a long amount of time. If anything paranormal were to happen, this room would be the portal of it. I am 100% sure about it. Anyways, back to the story. I finally got the courage to go back and check the room to see if it was there or not. Obviously it wasn't there. I turned on the light and just stood in the doorway. I felt sick to my stomach knowing no one would believe me and there was something here that we didn't invite. I still think about the creature I saw. Why did it hide from me? What was the motive? Was I the scary creature in its eyes? Why would it duck when it saw me? When I lived in a haunted house next to a funeral home. Posted by u/Smike Helian. The first house my parents bought instead of renting was an old 2-story fixer-upper that was one house down from a funeral home. My mom has always taken odd feelings very seriously, and she truly believes in her ability to sense spirits and whatnot. I always poked fun at her for it until we moved into this house. It was a 3-bedroom 2-bath, and the staircase split the 2 bedrooms that made up the entire 2nd story. My brother and I took those rooms, but not for long because nobody could ever figure out why the 2nd floor remained freezing cold, even in the summer. This house is in Texas, and let me tell you about the temperature in August, despite the house lacking central air and heat. It was too cold to sleep, even with multiple comforters and plug-in heaters, so we just kept all our stuff up there and had to alternate taking turns on the couch and love seat in the living room, for 6 years, every night. Even when we had friends sleep over, we would explain to them the situation and take them upstairs so they could see how fucking cold it stayed up there for no good reason. That's odd but not necessarily haunted. Random side note, in my brother's room, there was a weird closet/cabinet built into the wall that didn't have any shelves or anything. It was just a 3FT×4FT crawlspace looking cabinet placed in the middle of the wall at eye level. My brother used it for board game and book storage. Maybe these were common in old houses, but I've never seen another one like it in any house I've been in. Then little things started to happen. My mom would swear up and down on her life that when she was home alone being a housewife during the day, the dining table chairs would move on their own. Then she said lights would turn off randomly even though the wall switch was still flipped up. She was so bothered by this that she had our Catholic priest come bless the house. When he went upstairs to sprinkle the holy water, he said he didn't feel good being up there. This only freaked my mom out more. After the blessing took place, more weird things started happening, like pictures falling off the wall. My brother and I were middle school age, and I suppose my parents didn't want to freak us out, so they told us that the house was just old and settling when the stairs started to creak at night as if someone was walking up or down on them. We took it at face value as kids do until one night. My brother and I were sleeping on the couch and love seat like usual when my brother says he was woken up because he heard me talking to someone. He looked up and says he saw me standing at the foot of the staircase, looking up and speaking a different language. He grabbed me and walked me back to the couch where I went back to sleep, but he said he couldn't sleep anymore that night. He told our parents about it the next morning and they sat me down and told me what he said happened. I'd never sleepwalked before that night and I never have since. The priest was called back over and blessed the house again. He spent hours praying over things and sprinkling holy water in every room. He even gave us a little statue of Mary that had a small bowl at the bottom for us to hang by the door, and he delivered us a bottle of holy water regularly to keep refilling it. My parents started making us dip our fingers in the holy water and do the sign of the cross with it every time we went through the door. They immediately got in contact with a realtor to sell the house and move. I was young when this happened, but about a year ago, I was a senior in college catching up with a friend from high school 3 years older when she said, "Can I ask you something? What was it like when you lived in that house on Elm Street?" And I got the most uneasy feeling in my stomach. Her asking me about it meant she, and likely others, also knew that there was something off about the house. I'm still not a huge believer in ghosts and spirits. I'm of the belief that when we die and our bodies decay in the ground and that's the end of it. But I've never been able to explain or rationalize my experience living there. White Lighting Humanoid, posted by u/Lavuthan. So it was late one night in 2019 and me, my mom and my sister are all outside at night looking at the stars. We live in the middle of nowhere. We were talking when suddenly I spot something white out of the corner of my eye moving down the road. We live in an old farmhouse from the late 1800s with a short gravel driveway maybe 10 or 15 car lengths long. What I see is a human-sized thing basically gliding at the speed of a car going at a decent pace. There is a fence on the other side of the street and it was taller than the fence, so about 7 to 9 foot tall is how tall it was. I look at my sister and at the same time she looks at me and I go, "Did you see it?" She said she did but didn't want to ask first because she didn't know if her eyes were playing tricks on her. At the pace it was going, if it wanted to it could have been up our driveway in seconds and right beside us. My mom has bad eyesight so she didn't see it, but it freaked me and my sister out enough we went in. Does anyone know what this could have been? My stomach eaten, posted by u/Muddled Blunder. I am a veteran. I don't know if I picked something up while I was abroad. I have a recurring dream about a haggard woman who eats my intestines while I sleep. One night, I was sleeping in my living room. I live in a bad neighborhood with mostly vagrants coming to my door at 3 a.m. this night. I had a visual incarnation of my dream. The haggard woman was eating my intestines and when I awoke, she laughed. I yelled, which my wife says is normal when I sleep, but I awoke to a bat on my stomach. I don't know what any of this means. I should speak to a psychic, but the only legitimate psychic I've met is in Orlando, and I didn't get a reading from her. Am I just cursed from my involvement in the military? I don't know. I was visited by a woman from a Santeria in Colombia. She only spoke Spanish. I don't know what she said. She tied warding bracelets around my wrist, and my wife knows me to challenge spirits that haunt us. Maybe she saw the malevolent spirits that torture me. Doesn't really matter because they can go back to hell with me when I die. Having been involved in so many deaths, I wouldn't be surprised if God sends me there. Little Girl and Her Father, posted by u/Lapush Cactus. This story is an actual encounter. To add on to yesterday, my younger sister was downstairs going to get something from out cold room, or basement where we keep all our food. As soon as she opened the door she said she saw a ghostly figure staring at her. It had been a little girl and most likely the same one who asked to come in the room. She eventually disappears after 30 seconds. On a later date, I went downstairs to the cold room to get something when I saw a male figure in the downstairs kitchen. You went through the downstairs kitchen to get to the cold room. He was slightly floating off of the floor and was kinda hard to make out cause it looked like a blob, but once I could make out the head I realized it looked like a man. I freeze and it disappears. I think that the male ghost was the little girl's dad. Man at Foot Abed, posted by u/The Lonely Python. Not sure what the hell this counts as, but seeing as I'll follow this group, I'll stick it here and let you decide. It's currently 3:22 a.m. and I woke up from a deep sleep to see a figure standing at the foot of my bed. Now this happens quite a lot, but I kept my eyes settled and it's nothing, just me mistaking a shadow. This time was different. I clearly saw a skinny bald man with a bushy brown beard and Reese button-up shirt with white flowers on. I did my initial WTF flinch and waited for him to go away. He didn't, so I changed angles and instead of disappearing, he turned with me, watching me move. This was when I freaked the fuck out and while keeping my eyes on him, reached out and turned my lamp on. After not having a good experience with the supernatural in the past, I'm freaking a wee bit the fuck out right now. Edit. Just got up and walked through where he was stood and all my hair shot up on end as I passed through the spot. My boyfriend's house was crazy haunted with noises, movement and shadow people. Posted by u/Sunshine and Shots. In 2009 I moved into my boyfriend's house, a seemingly normal 3-bed terrace in Leeds, UK. After a few weeks a radio that was built into the kitchen started playing on its own. This radio was really old and no one used it. We all had iPods with speakers at the time. So we thought it was really weird and went and turned it off. But it kept coming back on. We thought it might be faulty so we pulled the wire from it, but a few days later it was on again, but just white noise really loudly and no one else had been near it as it was just me and my boyfriend home in the other room. It really freaked me out so we took it out of the kitchen and threw it away. After that I started to feel uneasy, like I was being watched and like something moved out the corner of my eye when no one was there. One day I had just gotten out of the shower and was sat at the dresser doing my hair and makeup, and I saw a full shadow person, just all black but definite human shape, stood behind me, but they were where the bed was, so they were going through the bed. I screamed my head off. My boyfriend didn't believe me. But then I started seeing the shadows person or people a lot, and then one time my boyfriend was going down the stairs and he saw it dart across the bottom of the stairs into the kitchen. It freaked us both out that we were both seeing this stuff. So it wasn't just our imagination. My cat would act weird looking at things, chasing things. And weirdly she would attack my face at night out of nowhere, which may be unrelated, but I had a feeling it wasn't, but I don't know. Then the scariest, loudest thing happened. Me and boyfriend were home alone on SSD watching TV with the door to the living room shut, which led the hallway and then the front door. When all of a sudden there was the biggest bang against the back of the door from the hallway. My boyfriend jumped up thinking we were being broken into and swung the door open. There was no one there other than the dog's tennis ball rolling away from the door. We checked the house to see if someone was hiding or tricking us. There was no one. We checked the front door in case someone opened it and threw the ball, but it was locked from the inside with the keys in it. I was so scared, but we were moving out in a couple of months into our own place, so I tried to put up with it. I started having terrible nightmares and my boyfriend would wake up to me screaming and have to hold me until I could calm down and go back to sleep, but I could never remember what the nightmare was. There was other weird things that happened, like in the living room there was a big double window, and one day it was like a massive shadow had floated over the whole window. The living room got darker. I thought it was a plane really low or about to crash, but there was nothing. And lastly, I was sat on the laptop using the webcam when a dark brown, almost liquid looking thing / shadow started in the top right corner and started moving across the screen, almost eating it up towards my face. I screamed and slammed the laptop shut, but when my boyfriend opened it there was nothing there and it never happened again. That could have been a malfunction, but me and my boyfriend have never seen anything like that before or since, and we had the laptop for 2 years after that. When we moved into our new place the nightmares stopped and the cat stopped attacking my face, and we felt a lot lighter, which we didn't even know that we felt heavy there somehow. Now we both talk about it sometimes years later and remember everything clearly still.
Thanks for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe for more videos.